Shedeur Sanders shows his class with gesture to Cleveland Browns community destroyed by explosion and fire. Shedeur Sanders is quickly ingraining himself in the Cleveland community after being drafted to the Browns. In the aftermath of a local tragedy, Sanders joined community leaders at the Garden Valley Fun Fest. On June 23rd, a massive fire and explosion ravaged the Rainbow Terrace apartment complex in Cleveland. The fire destroyed 44 units in the complex and displaced more than 120 residents. One man, Cordell Sheffield, died from burn injuries after running back into a burning apartment to save his stepchildren. Since June 23rd, everyone has been not themselves, Ward 5 Councilman Richard A. Starr said. The whole community was crying, and now we're mourning the loss of Cordell Sheffield, who was a hero who went in and saved two of his stepchildren from burning in the fire explosion. With the community left so devastated by the tragedy, Sanders stepped up to bring people back together. The Garden Valley Fun Fest brought free food, drinks, music, games, and more to the community, and was all hosted by Sanders. When everything transpired, I was out of town, so I was like, nah, the first thing I do when I get back is definitely come to the community center said. This was just off an Instagram DM. I didn't really know about the situation. Someone told me. I was like, dang, that's crazy. And I just wanted a day for everybody to get out here and have some type of enjoyment, excitement, bring just the family atmosphere back. Sending money and stuff, that's easy, but you have to actually go out there and be in the flesh. Sanders starts his first NFL training camp with the Browns on Friday, but made sure to spend his time focused on the people of his community. Everything's fun and it's a great event for the city to bring happiness here, Sanders said. I'm just enjoying myself here right now. When I leave here, then we'll focus on the season. But right now, this is more important than football. Starr shared how grateful he was that Sanders brought a smile to the face of the community in the wake of such tragedy. Shedeur Sanders and his team reached out and said they wanted to come into the community to have a fun day so children and the families can smile again, Starr said. And that's exactly what he's doing. Sanders spent time meeting with police officers and firefighters, as well as taking pictures with fans. He also played games with kids, including playing quarterback in a football game. The roar of a stadium and the silence of a tragedy rarely intersect. But sometimes, when the right person steps forward at the right time, the noise of triumph and the stillness of loss find common ground. Bound by empathy, last Sunday, Shedeur Sanders, the Colorado Buffaloes star quarterback and son of NFL Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, gave the football world more than a highlight reel. He gave it heart. While headlines buzzed about his dazzling performance on the field, a quieter story unfolded in Cleveland, Ohio. One with no touchdowns, no cameras, but perhaps the most meaningful play of the weekend. Earlier in the week, a tragic gas explosion shook a tightly knit neighborhood near Cleveland's South Broadway area. A firestorm followed. Families were displaced. Homes that had stood for generations turned to ash. The Browns community, a proud and passionate fan base, was reeling, not from a loss on the field, but from a loss of normalcy, of safety, of home. It was a story that could have gone unnoticed outside Ohio, but Shedeur Sanders noticed. The gesture following his post-game press conference, Sanders did something unusual. As reporters gathered, expecting a breakdown of the final drive or a reflection on his Heisman aspirations, Shedeur held up a worn Browns cap. It wasn't flashy. No brand partnership, no logo, but the iconic brown and orange elf emblem, a symbol of Cleveland grit. This one's for the people back in Cleveland, he said, voice calm but unwavering. I heard about the explosion. I've got no ties there personally, but football is family. And when a part of that family is hurting, you show up. He didn't just speak words. He acted. Sanders announced he was donating $50,000, 0 cents of his NIL earnings to relief efforts for the displaced families, with a portion set aside specifically for youth whose football programs were affected. He also pledged to travel to Cleveland during the offseason to meet the families and host a youth camp. It's not just about helping them rebuild homes, Sanders added. It's about making sure they don't lose their dreams along the way. Ripple effect, word spread fast. Within 24 hours, Sanders' gesture had ignited a wave of support. Donations began pouring into local nonprofits and GoFundMe pages. The Browns organization, moved by Sanders' unexpected support, matched his donation and began coordinating logistics for a community rebuilding weekend. In a moment when rivalries often define the football world, Sanders bridged the gap. Broncos fans, Buckeyes, Buffs, even Steelers fans, staunch rivals of the Browns, joined in to contribute. One of the most powerful voices came from Jamarcus Ellis, a high school coach from the affected area. Look, we see pro athletes on TV and think they're untouchable. But this, Shedeur made us feel seen. Our kids needed that. After the fire, they thought nobody outside Cleveland cared, but now they know someone does. A legacy beyond bloodlines. For all the talk of Deion Sanders' influence on his son, his discipline, his flash, his drive, this act reminded everyone that Shedeur is carving a legacy of his own. Where his father danced after interceptions, Shedeur walked quietly into a storm with open hands. Where others posed prayers for Cleveland, Shedeur opened his wallet, his schedule, and his heart. It's easy to dismiss young athletes with fame and wealth as detached or distracted, but Shedeur Sanders has consistently shown a maturity that belies his age. Whether it's his calm leadership on the field or his community-first mindset off it, he continues to defy expectations, not just as a quarterback, but as a human being. From the ashes, a promise, in the burned remnants of that Cleveland neighborhood, a small boy named Devon clutches a football. His home is gone, but he doesn't cry. Not anymore. "Whoa," he says. "Devon? Yo, Devon, the shop's open. Do you see shops here?" "Not anymore." His mother says he keeps talking about a quarterback from Colorado. He said, "Mom, I want to meet Shedeur. I want to throw a football with him when he comes." For Devin and dozens like him, Shedeur's promise isn't just a headline. It's something to look forward to, a reason to believe that life doesn't end with the Flames. It begins with the rebuilding, the final play. Some plays don't show up on stat sheets. They don't trend on SportsCenter or make it into mock drafts, but they matter deeply. Shedeur Sanders didn't have to say anything about Cleveland. He didn't have to give. He didn't have to care, but he did. And in doing so, he reminded us that true greatness isn't defined by championships or awards. It's defined by character. In the game of football, there are winners. But in the game of life, there are leaders. And last week, in the shadow of heartbreak, Shedeur Sanders led.